Hello, my dearest friends. Welcome back to my channel, Diana and the Book Hunt. In today's video, I'm going to be wrapping up the 13 books that I read in the month of October. I'm pretty darn proud with myself because I was in a slump throughout the whole summer. So I'm slowly but surely getting back into reading, and I'm getting back into really anticipating and kind of feeling excited about the books that I'm picking up. So that is like a kind of a very good feeling and kind of the path to the right direction that I want to be heading into. So I'm pretty happy about that. I had a couple of books that I gave 4 stars to, a couple of 3-star reads. I had one 4.5-star read. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive in. There are certain books that I've already discussed in a reading vlog that is supposed to be up on my channel already. So you will have seen my full thoughts on those. I'm going to link it up in the cards if you haven't seen it yet. It's the fall reads vlog that I recently did. And I'm just going to skim over those and then focus on the books that I haven't discussed in length in this video here. So I'm going to just go ahead and jump in with the first book that I really highly enjoyed. The book is by Sable Sorensen and it's called Direbound. This is a book that I've started, or actually I started seeing everywhere, like at the tail end of summer. Everyone was reading it. And I was seeing that some of the bookish content creators that I follow were really enjoying it. So I definitely wanted to give it a try, and I had the audiobook for it. So I immediately dove in. I dove into that book, and I was immediately kind of immersed into the story. It is a story that I think like it mostly takes place in the winter, which I really, really loved because it was a very good change of pace for me. I've been reading a lot of summary kinds of books, so this was definitely one that I really, really appreciated. The book starts with our heroine, Marin, who she lives in this realm where there is this army that are bounded to werewolves, and she hates them. And what happens is her sister goes missing. She gets kidnapped. And to get her back, she actually needs to enlist into the army, but she definitely wants to kind of avoid the bounded. She doesn't want to be in that kind of regimen of the army. She wants to just get into the army because she can then get closer to the location she suspects that her sister is being held. So she needs to go through this trial to prove that she can get into the army and everything. So what happens is actually the trial that she's part of ends up being a trial to get bonded. So the thing that she despises the most is the thing that she's actually participating in. And she is the kind of person who is so determined. She is such a badass heroine. I really, really love that about her. And with the trials going on, a lot of things happen. You have a lot of, death, a lot of, like harsh conditions with a wintry kind of setting. And once she gets up on the mountain where the trials eventually will actually take place, yeah, certain things happen. I just don't want to spoil too much, but essentially she is either going to get bonded with a werewolf or she might die. And it's such an interesting kind of a story, at least for me it was, because I haven't really read a lot of paranormal books. So I can imagine that for someone who may be experienced with the genre, that it might not be anything new. But for me, it was quite interesting because I really love exploring this romantasy setting with the paranormal aspect of having a telepathy with a wolf, and the relationship between the human and the wolf, and also what happens in different settings of the cycle with the wolves and everything. It just was very intriguing to me. I really, really highly enjoyed it. I was very immersed into the story, and I was also very hooked on the romance because for me it was quite predictable who the love interest would be, but at the same time, because I predicted it, I was giddy to figure out how their relationship would evolve. So that was a good part within the story. I kind of flew through this book. I really, really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, and I'll definitely be continuing on with the series. I'm looking forward to the next book. So yeah, this one was a hit for me. Now, the next book, I have to say, it pains me to say I didn't enjoy it as much as I had hoped, because when I look at the premise, when I look at the cover, when I look at the tropes, it has 5 stars written all over it. So I was really, really hopeful, and I was expecting to give this book 5 stars, but unfortunately I didn't. The book is called The Scattered Bones by Nicole Scorano. It features a heroine who lives in this realm where she is completely at a loss because she has lost her husband. Her husband was very brutally killed for very, very specific reasons. And his bones have been scattered all over the realm as kind of like a punishment of whatever has happened in the past. And she meets this stranger who lets her know that if she were to find all of the bones that were scattered across the whole realm, that he would help her get him back into the living. So she has this mission to gather all of these bones, and it's kind of like an individual quest that she goes on, and we are kind of having these flashbacks of how she met her husband, how their relationship evolved. So we do see the progression of their love story in the past, and we see also what is happening with her quest of gathering those bones to get to the eventual, goal of hers to get her husband back to life. And I was just so excited about this one, and it just sounded like a book that would have so much longing and so much kind of like despair, and you definitely did feel the despair and like her very heavy emotion within the book. But what kind of didn't work for me is that we were in her head a lot, and we like the glimpses that I got of their relationship were the ones that I was longing for, and just there was just something too melancholic that was like a gray cloud over the experience of the reading experience that I was having. I was just looking for something like a spark more. And the quest where whenever you have some kind of a quest where typically you have a found family aspect of people that you encounter that for certain kinds of things are helping out and everything. In this situation, she is kind of doing everything on her own. So we're in her head a lot. And that is something that maybe made the story drag for me a little bit. So that is why I gave this book 3 stars. Just the whole reading experience was not the one that I was expecting to have with this book. I did really appreciate, the kind of soulmate, like the we're made for each other kind of a trope where the heroine is just going to cease to exist if she cannot meet the goal of getting her husband back. I get this kind of ache, and those parts of the book I really, really highly enjoyed. Those are the kinds of books that I'm longing for, but the execution just had something missing for me. So I gave this book 3 stars. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on the next one because it's a short novella that is part of the Quicksilver realm by Callie Hart. It's Kingfisher's POV, so it's a short novella where we're getting certain parts or certain scenes from Quicksilver narrated through Kingfisher's perspective. I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. It's just very enlightening and fun to just see how he experienced those scenes. And I'm just very much looking forward to Brimstone. When I saw that Kingfisher's POV, it was only first available on Audible, but now it got uploaded into Storytel as well. So I was very happy to just get a glimpse of this world again and then jump into Brimstone whenever it comes out in a month's time. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. And then next up, I picked up a cowboy small town romance called Cash by Jessica Peterson. This one actually, it was quite popular. It was popular like maybe a year ago. I was seeing it here and there, and I had it on audio through Storytel. So I was like, yeah, I'm in the mood for a small town romance. Let me pick this up. I was hoping to really, really enjoy it. I gave this book 3 stars. It was not a bad romance, but there were just certain things that were not my favorite. We've got a heroine in this one who used to love living on a ranch in this small town with her father and her mother, but then her father and mother got divorced when she was like, I don't know, like 6, 7, 8 years old. And she moved away to the big city with her mom, and she kind of fell out of touch with her dad, and she kind of blamed him for it because he kind of didn't fight for them at all, or at least for her. He kind of let them go, and she felt like he kind of neglected the relationship that he had with her. But then he comes to pass. So she gets to the small town for the funeral and also for the inheritance reading. And he obviously has left her the ranch, but with one stipulation: she needs to live and also manage the ranch for a year before it gets handed over to her. And she needs to decide whether she's going to do that, because she has a life of her own in the big city, and she's not sure whether she can take that year off to do something completely different with her life when she kind of fell out of that life for such a long time. And she meets the foreman of the ranch, so like the manager of the ranch, Cash, who is supposed to kind of keep things running and help her out with venturing into this new world. And they start off on the wrong footing because he has certain kinds of assumptions about her, because essentially she has never visited, and he had a very close relationship with her dad. So he kind of thought that she is not a very good person because she kind of never paid any attention to her dad. But at the same time, she has her reasons for not visiting, and he doesn't know those reasons. So slowly but surely, they start to get to know each other. They start to understand each other better, and they start off on the wrong footing, like kind of being enemies, but quickly kind of develop a different kind of a relationship with each other. So this one, like, the premise is good. I didn't have anything against the premise, but there were certain parts of the story, specifically the relationship between the heroine and the mom. She also has this business that she wants to help out by, kind of like selling the ranch or something like that. And that just kind of, I just didn't love that side side plot line of the story. There were just certain parts that were not my favorite. It's, I think, more of a personal thing than that it was lacking in some way. So I do understand that some people love this book. For me, it was just not a favorite. So I gave this one 3 stars. Now, for the next one, Becky from Backstreet sent me a message when she saw my graphic on Instagram that I've given this book 3 stars. And she was kind of put off by me giving this book 3 stars. She was like, oh no, not this one, because she probably loves it. The book is Anathema by Carrie Lake. This is a dark gothic fantasy romance book. And Becky, I completely understand that you love this book. And I completely understand that many people love this book. It's just a personal kind of a taste thing that is making me give this book 3 stars. It's just not my kind of a story. I typically don't love very fairy tale centered kinds of books. Whenever there is a lot of world building or a lot of like inner thoughts, inner monologues, or kind of like descriptors, that is where it just gets a bit difficult for me to get into it. And I do understand that probably the way that it's described and the author having to set up this fantasy world is the driving force of that story. It's just not my favorite kind of way to present the plot. I'm more the kind of reader who enjoys a good balance between world building and plot, character development, and romance. Just there needs to be a balance between the different factors within the book. If there is too much world building, it's difficult for me to get into it. If it's too much focusing on character development, I'm looking for the plot, I'm looking for the drive, for the goals. I'm anticipating what is happening while the story is focusing on the characters. And if there's too little romance, then again, it's kind of losing. I'm missing that little touch of of me getting the right kind of balance between the story. And this is where this book kind of was not a favorite of mine because I'm just this kind of a reader. So this rating is not really like a general rating of you shouldn't pick this book up. It's more so a personal thing. You know, I just didn't enjoy it as much as I'd hoped. This book, for me, is difficult to describe, honestly. It's like I mentioned, a gothic, dark fantasy romance book. The heroine gets banished into this forbidden realm where it's unlikely for her to get out. And she meets the hero there, who is this kind of like a cursed assassin. And these two need to work together to survive this place and to overcome different obstacles that this realm presents for them. It's very eerie. It's very atmospheric when it comes to the dark gothic setting. And that part of the story is something that all of the readers appreciate about this book. And there is a slow burn romance, which for me, I wanted to see more of that. You know, that is like, I'm a romance girly at heart. So I was just so hooked on their romance and I just wanted to see more of it. So I was just looking forward to getting more of it. But anyway, regardless of my opinion, this is quite an amazingly written book. I definitely would recommend it if you like these kinds of a fairy tale like, but then dark and gothic kinds of stories. It just wasn't a favorite of mine. Now, the next one is definitely my kind of a story. And I'm a very basic girl when it comes to hyped books. I typically tend to love them. This book is by Ali Hazelwood. It's her latest release, Mate. It's the second book that follows up Bride from last year. And it was a bit of a surprise for me because Bride, I actually didn't enjoy. I have a copy of it, but I was contemplating getting rid of it, but I like the cover, so I decided to keep it. But anyway, I didn't like Bride very much, but then I wanted to pick up Mate because I was hearing more and more people saying that it's better than Bride. So I was like, okay, let me give it a try. And I definitely am happy that I did because I gave this book 4.5 stars. I rounded it up to 5 on Goodreads. The book centers on our heroine, who is a hybrid between a human and a werewolf. And that is something that is very rare. It's actually unheard of in the urban fantasy world that they live in. And she has a connection to one of the alphas in this region. She is essentially his mate, but she rejects him quite early on. She does have an inkling of a feeling towards him, but it's just something that she's kind of working against herself. You know, she's reluctant to give in to it. But then what happens is she's kind of endangered because of her identity. They want to kind of experiment on her and see how it came about that she's a hybrid, and she wants to protect another hybrid girl that nobody knows about. So she decides to move to the region where her mate, so her alpha person, is situated, because then he can protect her, and at the same time they can come up with a plan of how to tackle the problem at hand. And now what I loved about the story is really the hero. He was the kind of hero that I'm a sucker for. He is kind of not the biggest alpha that you can expect in such a book, but at the same time, I think that that is his charm because he has the right amount of alphaness to him. You know, he's protective over his mate. But at the same time, he's very kind of pragmatic and also retrospective. And he has secrets of his own that he kind of keeps to himself because even though he presents himself as someone who is fine with being rejected, he's very much having to keep himself in check because obviously he has those feelings for the heroine. He cannot just ignore them, essentially. So there is this longing part of the hero story that I really, really love, this pining that we sense from him. There is this Ali Hazelwood typical banter between the hero and heroine that I really tend to enjoy. And overall, just the story really progressed in a way that made sense for me for a paranormal story. Unlike Bride, with Bride, there were certain parts of the story that just were ridiculous and kind of didn't make sense for me. With this one, I was buying into the premise, even though there were, again, parts that were probably ludicrous for someone who is used to paranormal stories. I haven't read very many, so for me, it was enjoyable to read about. So yeah, this one this one was a hit for me. Now for the next 3 books, I have this reading vlog that I'm going to link up in the card so you can check it out if you haven't yet. The first one that I read is Poisoned Ivy by Alvarani. This one I really enjoyed in the end, so I gave this one 4 stars. The second one that I picked up is The Good Girls on Maple Lane by Jacqueline Firkins. This one I also enjoyed. I did give it 3 stars, but this is just because it's like, it's not a very deep kind of a book. You know, you have this cute, cozy setting, and you have a good romance and a good balance between, you know, the atmospheric read of it, as well as the romance and the relationship between the heroine and the dog that is very central in this story. I just enjoyed it, so I gave this one 3 stars. And then the third book that I discussed in this vlog, it's Different This Time by Joss Richards. This one I had more expectations from, and it kind of disappointed me. I gave this one 3 stars. I had hoped to love this one more than I did. But yeah, you can see my full thoughts on that one in the vlog as well. So these 3 books were in that vlog. Then the next one up is A Tourist Season by Bryn Weaver. Now, Bryn Weaver actually has another release this year that I haven't picked up yet. That one is Skies. I don't know how to pronounce that name. It's the third book within her Butcher and Blackbird books. And I just didn't enjoy Leather and Lark, which was her second book within that series, so I didn't really get excited about the third book, so I just didn't pick it up. But then I saw the release of Tourist Season, and it just sounded like a more fun read for me for the fall season, and I'm definitely happy that I picked this one up because I really had a lot of fun with it. I gave this one 4 stars. It's a dark romantic comedy, very much like Butcher and Blackbird. Focuses on 2 serial killers. The heroine is a serial killer for certain reasons. She lives in this small town where she is very protective over her mentor, who is dealing with Alzheimer's. And he has a very interesting backstory of his own as well. So she's very protective over him in general. And he, the hero, he has a certain kind of a story with the heroine that she doesn't know about. And he is in the small town to kind of hunt her down and kill her. But then he meets her, and he's immediately kind of intrigued, at the same time kind of weirded out by how uniquely weird she is and the things that happened with her. And he figures out that there is something going on in this small town. So he sticks around, tries to get to know the heroine. And there is a side plot that involves the mentor in question. And he kind of helps her out with her quest to protect him. Let me leave it at that. I just don't want to spoil too much, because the charm of the story is really going into it as blind as possible, because all of the different factors, like plot lines, you just need to discover them on your own so that you can appreciate them more. There is a lot of banter, dark humor, and overall, just the story was a good time. I actually enjoyed this one even more than Butcher and Blackbird, to be quite honest. So this one, out of the books that I've read by Bryn Weaver, is my favorite. So I would definitely recommend this one around this time of year. And then I picked up the first 2 books within a series. The third book isn't out yet, so the only 2 books that I could read were those 2. It's The Wolf King and then also The Night Prince. I cannot pronounce the last name of this author, so I'm just going to put up the covers for you to see. I saw, I think, April from Happily Ever April, and just a couple of other booktubers talk about this book, and I was intrigued. I was intrigued by the cover. I was intrigued by the fact that I have the audiobook, and I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, duet narration. And I just wanted to see whether I'm going to enjoy this one as much as the other people that I saw enjoying it. And The Wolf King was just all right. It was nothing too special. It was a little bit predictable, to be quite honest. So I was like, I'm not getting the hype yet here. But then The Night Prince really kind of solidified my enjoyment of the two books. The story starts with our heroine Aurora, who is this princess who is supposed to get married off to this guy who is not a good guy, but her father kind of wants to leverage out the situation that he can marry off his daughter for certain benefits. And the heroine gets kidnapped by our hero Callum, who is this alpha wolf shifter. And he has an agenda of his own when it comes to her. He kidnaps her for a very specific reason because he wants to get something out of her father and her fiance. And they have this quest that they go on, essentially, because he kidnaps her and they slowly but surely, so they start to bicker at the start because obviously she doesn't want to get kidnapped, but then she starts to see the reasoning behind him kidnapping her, and she starts to see a lot of things about her own family and about her situation that she didn't before. So that part of the story is a good setup for the start of the story, but at the same time, again, it was quite predictable for me, and I was just looking for more when I was reading it. And towards the end of the first book, we get introduced to this other guy, Blake, who is also an alpha of a different pack. And in The Wolf King, it didn't feel like this was going to be a love triangle. But then in The Night Prince, it definitely became one. So just to give you a heads up about these two books, there is definitely a love triangle involved. So if you don't like those, then these are not going to be the books for you. But to be quite honest, because this became a love triangle, it's a story that became intriguing for me because I like love triangles when they're executed well. And in this situation, like the first book didn't hint towards it too much. So I was like, I didn't have any connection to the other hero very much, and Callum was just all right as a hero. But then book two started to give me a lot of different feels, and the way that the story progressed, I don't want to spoil too much about book two, but the things that were happening were driving the story much better for me, the plot lines, and I'm now looking forward to the next book. So I gave book one 3 stars and I gave book two 4 stars. The last book that I picked up was one that I picked up on purpose at the end of October towards Halloween. The book is Soul Searching by Lila Sage. It features a heroine who can see and communicate with ghosts. So very kind of atmospheric for the Halloween period. The heroine Collins, she is a twin. She comes from this small town and she is a photographer. She is someone who has been out of her small town for quite some time, and she has a very loving family, but she kind of has put them at a distance for certain reasons for a certain amount of time. Now, she's going back to her hometown because she has a secret. She needs to work on something that has happened to her. And she has talked to her twin sister about finding a job and finding a place to stay. And it's with this guy that she doesn't know. He's like a new person in town. He's like a carpenter or like a woodworker. And he gives her a job at his shop and also a room to stay in his apartment. So they're roommates, they have this forced proximity. And like I mentioned at the start, she also communicates with ghosts. And the way that the story started with this very fun meet cute, the way that their relationship progressed worked for me. I really enjoyed the hero who, while he looks to be this rugged kind of a guy, is kind of like a softie on the inside. And also the way that the heroine had this secret issue that she was dealing with, and also the struggles that she had with the communication with her family, it was relatable to me. So I really, really enjoyed this one. I saw that some people that I follow didn't really like this one, and maybe it's again a personal kind of a taste thing. But for me, this one definitely worked. I had a lot of fun with the atmospheric ghost kind of a situation to the story, because what happens within the story is the hero and heroine visit different places within the small town that are kind of haunted, and the conversations that they have about the paranormal aspects of life are very fun to me. So I just really enjoyed it. I gave this one 4 stars, and I'm very happy to round off the month with that book. Specifically, I finished it on the 31st. So yeah, I was really happy with it. All right, my dear friends, these were the 13 books that I managed to finish in the month of October. I'm very much looking forward to what is going to be happening in November. If all goes well, I'm supposed to do another Goodreads Choice Awards prediction. And I'm actually planning on probably doing 2 this year, because I have read a few of the romantasy books that I suspect that are going to be nominated. So I'm going to be doing both the contemporary romances and a separate video for the romantasy picks. And then I'm going to do the 10 before the end video sometime soon as well. And I'm going to get started on some Christmas romances as well. So I'm very much looking forward to my favorite time of year. There's going to be a lot of fun videos up ahead, and I can't wait to share those with you. Until then, I wish you a very nice day. Happy reading. Take care of yourselves, and see you next time.